The psychology of dogs that nudge you with their nose. Your dog just pushed their nose into your hand. Maybe it was your arm, your knee, the small of your back when you were turned away from them. And you probably reached down without even thinking about it and gave them a pat. Because that's what it means. They want attention. Except you are only seeing the surface of something that runs much deeper than that. A nose nudge is not a single behavior. It is one of the most communicatively dense gestures in your dog's entire repertoire. And the reason most owners miss what it actually means is because it works so quickly, and the response it triggers feels so natural that no one ever stops to ask why it works. They are about to. 1. It begins before words ever existed. To understand the nose nudge, you have to go back further than your dog. You have to go back to what noses are for. A dog's nose is not just a sensory organ. It is the primary instrument through which they organize reality. When a dog presses their nose to something, they are not simply touching it, they are reading it. But when they press it to you, something different happens. Because you are not a passive surface, you are the center of their world, and the nose nudge is how they reach toward that center when the distance between you feels like too much. Ethologists studying mother-pup bonding in canines documented that muzzle contact, nose-to-body touch, is one of the first active social behaviors a puppy initiates independently. Not a behavior their mother does to them, but one they begin doing themselves, pushing their small nose into their mother's side, neck, face as a bid for contact, for warmth, for confirmation that the bond is still intact. That behavior doesn't disappear when they grow up. It simply finds a new recipient. You, too. It is a bid, not a demand, and the distinction matters. Here is where most owners misread the nudge entirely. When your dog pushes their nose into your hand, the instinct is to interpret it as a request. Pet me. Pay attention. Give me something. But researchers studying canine social bids, the small, quiet gestures dogs make to initiate connection, found something more nuanced at work. A nudge is not a demand made by an animal who expects compliance. It is an offer made by an animal who hopes for reciprocation. There is a meaningful behavioral difference between a dog who nudges once, softly, and then waits, and a dog who nudges repeatedly, escalating if ignored. The first is what behaviorists call a social bid. The second is already something else, a signal that quieter bids have been going unnoticed for too long, and the dog has learned that only intensity gets results. If your dog nudges you gently and you miss it, and they nudge again harder, and you miss that, and eventually they paw at you or bark, understand that you didn't suddenly have a demanding dog. You had a patient one who finally ran out of quieter options. The nudge was the first sentence. Everything that followed was the dog learning how loud they had to speak to be heard. And if this is already changing how you see your dog. A 2020 study published in Animal Cognition found that dogs successfully communicate their desires to humans through directed gestures, including nose nudges and muzzle contact, in over 85% of observed interactions, making it one of the most reliable communication tools in the human-dog repertoire. A separate survey of over 2,000 dog owners found that fewer than 1 in 5 could correctly identify more than 2 distinct meanings behind their dog's nudging behavior. Most assumed it meant one thing: attention. They were missing the other 4. Subscribe and stay with us, because this is exactly what this channel is for. Not the assumption you walked in with, the thing underneath it that changes everything. 3. Where they nudge tells you something specific. Not every nudge lands in the same place, and the location is not accidental. A dog who nudges your hand is most often initiating contact. The hand is the instrument of petting, of touching, of feeding. Nudging it is a directed communication. This is what I'm asking for, and this is the part of you I am asking it from. A dog who nudges your leg while you are standing or walking is doing something different. They are not asking you to stop and engage with them. They are marking proximity. staying in your orbit, reminding themselves, and in some sense telling you that they are still here, still close. The leg nudge often requires nothing from you at all. It is a brief check-in, an invisible signature left on your body that says, "I was here, I am near." A dog who nudges your face, particularly if they press the bridge of their nose to your cheek or forehead, is engaging in something considerably more intimate. Face contact in canine social behavior is reserved for the highest degrees of trust and attachment. Dogs do not approach the faces of strangers or those they are uncertain about. If your dog is pressing their muzzle to your face, you are not being greeted. You are being claimed. And a dog who nudges you from behind, at your lower back or the backs of your knees when you are facing away from them, is doing something you should sit with for a moment. They are reaching toward you when they cannot see your face, when you are unavailable to them visually. That nudge from behind is perhaps the purest form of the behavior, a reach with no agenda, no eye contact, no performance. Just the quiet press of a nose that says, "I know you are there. I wanted you to know that I know." 4. It is a form of emotional regulation, theirs and yours simultaneously. There is a reason the nudge works so reliably on humans that we respond almost automatically. Research into the psychophysiology of touch has established that skin-to-skin contact, or any form of gentle physical contact with a trusted beings, triggers an oxytocin response almost immediately. Your dog's cold nose pressing against your hand is crossing the threshold of physical contact, and your nervous system registers it. Your cortisol drops slightly. Your attention narrows and softens. The nudge works on you because you are a mammal who is wired to respond to gentle touch from trusted beings. Your dog knows this. Not consciously, not as strategy, but encoded in tens of thousands of years of coevolution between dogs and humans. They have learned, across generations, not just their own lifetime, that pressing into a human body produces a response. The human slows. The human softens. The hand comes down. The voice changes. The threat level in the room decreases. So when your dog nudges you in a moment of tension, when voices are raised, when the environment is unpredictable, when they sense something is wrong that they cannot name, they are not simply asking for comfort. They are attempting to provide it. To bring you back down to a register they recognize. To break the tension with something physical, something old, something that has always worked before. The nudge in those moments is your dog trying to fix what they cannot understand. 5. And sometimes, pay attention to this one, it means something is wrong. There is a nudge that looks identical to every other nudge on the surface, but carries entirely different information beneath it. If your dog has never been particularly interested in a specific part of your body, the inside of your arm, the side of your abdomen, the back of your calf, and they begin returning to that spot with unusual focus, pressing their nose to it with a persistence that feels qualitatively different from their usual social nudging, do not dismiss it. Dogs detect changes in human body chemistry through scent with a sensitivity that has been extensively documented. Studies training dogs to alert to hypoglycemic episodes, certain cancer markers, cortisol changes, and oncoming seizures have shown that the nose, pressed directly against the body, is the primary tool through which these detections are made. Your dog may not be trained for this, but they are still a dog. The nose still works. The chemistry is still being read. A few social nudges on an ordinary afternoon is language. A dog who will not stop returning to one specific place, with a focus that feels driven rather than playful, with a nose that seems to be searching rather than greeting, is sharing information that belongs in a conversation with your doctor. That is not alarmism. It is simply respecting that your dog is telling you something, and they have been doing it the only way they know how. Every nudge your dog has ever given you was a sentence. Some of them were small talk. Some of them were declarations. Some of them were questions. And at least one of them, at some point, was something closer to a prayer, a soft press of a nose against a human body that said, in the oldest language available to them, "I am here. You are here. That is enough. Now you know how to listen." Every video on this channel begins the same way, with a question most dog owners have never stopped to ask. And then we go looking for the real answer. Not the simplified version, not the comfortable assumption, the actual science, the studies, the behavioral research that takes years to surface and rarely reaches people in a way that feels like a real conversation. That is what we do here, every single time. If this video gave you something, a new way of seeing your dog, or a moment that made you stop and think, then do one thing before you leave. Hit like, drop a comment, and tell us, is your dog a hand nudger, a leg nudger, or one of those dogs who goes straight for your face every time? And subscribe so you do not miss what we are putting out next, because the more you understand your dog, the better life gets for both of you. And that is always worth showing up for.